Are here the night after WNBA Fight Night. Sophie Cunningham putting JC Sheldon in a clinch. Marina Mabrey targeting Caitlin Clark.
The Sun versus Fever game was utter chaos. 6 technical fouls, 3 ejections, and 2 flagrant fouls. But in the middle of all that madness came the moment that set social media ablaze. Marina Mabry blindsided Caitlin Clark with a shove and somehow wasn't ejected. No flagrant, no removal. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham was tossed, and fans were quick to call out the double standard. Interview 2 after the game, the league quietly upgraded Mabry's foul to a flagrant.
All they had to do was just eject her. All they had to do was eject her and none of this happens. If the referees had ejected Marina Mabry, nothing else happens. The Sophie Cunningham situation does not happen.
So now the question is, why didn't the refs catch that in real time? And why did the league only take action once the public outrage exploded?
So, there are 4 players fined in that game. 4 players fined in that game, but the referees, the scariest part about all this is that the referees came out with their report. They came out with a report and said, the contact made by Mabry did not rise to the level of ejection. Additionally, it did not meet the criteria for a flagrant 2 penalty. And it was given as a technical foul. Not even a flagrant, by the way.
They overruled their own officials, but did the league's late correction actually do more harm than good? First, let's break down exactly how that shove flipped the entire momentum.
A lot of it is centered around the last 46 seconds where Sophie Cunningham hard fouls JC Sheldon. She gets ejected, JC gets ejected, does Lindsay? I think Lindsay gets ejected. And in watching the broadcast, even the broadcasters at the time mentioned if they would have just ejected Marina Mabry, this probably wouldn't have happened.
That's right, Marina Mabry's shove on Caitlin Clark wasn't just another hard foul. It became the moment everyone kept talking about. The play was simple. Clark wasn't looking, and Mabry delivered a blindside shove that sent her crashing to the hardwood. The crowd and commentators reacted instantly. The whistle blew, but instead of calling a flagrant 2 or ejecting Mabry, officials issued only a technical. Broadcasters and players questioned it immediately, calling it an ejection-worthy cheap shot even in a game already loaded with tension and physicality.
So Caitlin Clark gets poked in the eye. Marina Mabry doesn't even see what happens, and she just decides to clean Caitlin Clark out of it. And the referees just said, nah, it was not worth an injection.
Social media exploded. The clip went viral in minutes, with fans asking, how? Is that not an ejection? And were the refs even watching? Many believe letting Mabry stay in the game encouraged more dangerous play, and that officials were losing control. What made it worse was comparing how other fouls were handled. Sophie Cunningham, for instance, was immediately ejected for a foul that didn't involve a shove or anything as blatant as Mabry's.
And then she was getting attacked. Like, she was just standing there. She was standing there. What is she supposed to do? She's protecting herself. She didn't throw hands or anything. She just held it. She didn't punch. She didn't slap, eye gouge. She didn't do any of that. She just held it. All right, so I don't know, man. That's my opinion on it.
The difference was impossible to ignore. Cunningham was removed right away, while Mabry remained in the game after what appeared to be a more dangerous hit.
So basically, all they had to do was just eject her. All they had to do was eject her, and none of this happens. If the referees had ejected Marina Mabry, nothing else happens.
Fans and analysts repeatedly pointed out the inconsistency. Had the rules been applied evenly, Mabry would have been ejected just like Cunningham. Instead, the call felt random and left everyone questioning what the actual standard was. The controversy didn't end with the final buzzer. It escalated when the WNBA stepped in to reverse the decision.
So yeah, she ended up stating this: Marina Mabry's technical from last night's Fever Sun game has been upgraded to a flagrant 2. Oh man, the league told ESPN a flagrant 2 comes from a standard fine. Additionally, Sophie Cunningham was fined separately for her hard foul with 46 seconds to play. No players will be suspended. So that's the end result of everything. I think she came down here and said something as well. And to this point, neither coach has been fined for their post-game criticism over the official.
That's right. The league later announced that after reviewing the footage, Mabry's technical foul would be upgraded to a flagrant 2. If that had been called during the game, she would have been ejected on the spot. No debate. The league also fined her, essentially admitting that the in-game call was wrong. Instead of easing outrage, it fueled it further. Fans took it as confirmation that the officials had missed something obvious, worsening the inconsistency.
Now, people are calling for Sophie Cunningham's ejection from the league. People are commenting under Marina Mabrey.
The league explained that Mabry's shove met the definition of excessive force and should have been ruled a flagrant 2, but that just raised more questions. Why wasn't it called that way in real time? The play happened right in front of the referees, clearly visible. Even neutral observers were confused by how such a blatant act was missed. Was it just bad judgment, or does the WNBA have a deeper issue with defining fair play?
It is kind of, frustrating to see the hypocrisy everywhere in all the spaces when it comes to the Indiana Fever, because I'm seeing the same people saying, and the same people in the media, the same people in social media, which social media doesn't really count and it shouldn't, but these are filtering to people in the mainstream media saying it was a physical league last season, to Sophie should be ejected and her spot should be considered in the league, and calling her out on all these physical plays that were totally excusable until the Indiana Fever do them.
That wasn't the only baffling call in the game. Clark received a technical for reacting after being poked in the eye. Cunningham was later fined and hit with an upgraded foul, even though her action seemed less dramatic than Mabry's. The result was a game where the rules seemed to shift minute by minute. If Mabry had been ejected as she should have been, the entire game could have gone differently. But by the time the correction came, it was far too late to matter.
There's no way y'all coming after the game and then now you're saying, oh, it should have been a flagrant 2. Oh, we should have. Look, you're catching the smoke and now you want to change it. You need to do it during the game. All right, during the game, go ahead and call it the way it is, man. Stop with the nonsense.
And all of this has left fans, players, and coaches asking the same thing. How can anyone trust the system if the officiating isn't consistent? The gap between what happens on the court and what the league decides afterward only adds to the confusion. And the most telling part? Even the officials and the league couldn't agree on what actually happened. That's where the real debate begins.
She didn't even get the 2 free throws in possession. She didn't even get a flagrant. I've never seen a technical upgraded to a flagrant 2 before. I've never seen that happening before. It wasn't even called a flagrant 1. It was a tech upgraded to a flagrant 2.
So here's the real question. Who's truly responsible for this chaos? The referees on the court or the league that stepped in afterward? All eyes turned toward referee Ashley Gloss, who explained post-game that Marina Mabrey's foul didn't meet the threshold for a flagrant 2 and didn't justify an ejection. That's why the officials gave her just a technical and moved on. Listen to this.
The contact made by Mabry did not rise to the level of an ejection. Additionally, it did not meet the criteria for a flagrant foul penalty 2.
But just hours later, the WNBA overruled its own officiating crew, officially upgrading the foul to a flagrant 2. That's not just a correction, it's a public contradiction. Suddenly, everyone was asking, how does a foul go from not enough to eject someone to one that warrants an automatic toss? Fans jumped on it instantly. The moment the league's announcement dropped, social media erupted with clips, commentary, and pure confusion. If the rules are so clear, why did the refs and the league interpret the same play so differently? The league's move didn't just undermine Gloss and her crew, it raised questions about whether the WNBA was following the rule book or simply reacting to backlash.
So this just clearly shows me the referees need some schooling, man. Okay? They need some schooling. You had these referees out here clueless, man. And I was wondering what was taking them so long to call the right call. I swear to you, man, we lived 2 lifetimes before they came back and said what they needed to say about the nonsense that happened.
The game was already wild 6 technicals, 3 ejections, and a series of calls that had everyone on edge. Caitlin Clark's technical stood out. She was called for unsportsmanlike behavior after reacting to an eye poke, and J.C. Sheldon even bunked her chest during a dead ball. Just listen to this.
question was, why did Caitlin Clark get a technical foul? She ended up coming back and saying, after the foul by Sheldon, Clark reacted in an unsportsmanlike manner toward Sheldon. Huh?
Then came the Sophie Cunningham incident. She was ejected for her flagrant 2 on J.C. Sheldon and later fined by the league. Meanwhile, Mabrey's more blatant shove only drew a technical in real time. That kind of inconsistency keeps fueling the fire. Viewers are left wondering how one player gets tossed and fined, while another stays in the game after something even more obvious.
Now the flagrant with Sophie, I'm still questioning that. I'm still questioning because it looked like a take foul, fam. And don't tell me y'all never seen somebody grab LeBron James, like hold him like both of his arms, try to hold him down. He fights through it, still makes the bucket. Don't tell me y'all never seen that.
So what kind of pressure are referees under when making split-second decisions in front of 10 to 15 times the usual WNBA audience? The ref's own defense says it all. The number of penalties and the inconsistent way they were issued only worsened the confusion. At times, the officials were quick to make calls. Other times, they missed major fouls the league later had to correct. When standards shift from play to play or even after the final buzzer, it's hard for anyone to trust the system.
At the end of the day, as long as bad referees are allowed to do whatever the hell they want to do, as long as bad referees can get away with every single thing they want and can get away with stuff like this, nothing will ever change. Nothing will ever change.
The heart of it all, it's about trust in the refs to call the game fairly, and trust in the league to either support or correct them. But when the league and its officials can't agree, and when players like Clark and Cunningham get penalized, while others walk free, it's clear something's broken. Are refs struggling with unclear guidelines? Or is the league scrambling for PR cleanup after the fact? No one has a clear answer, but the fallout just keeps growing.
Although it's good that the refs did something about it, but they should have did something about it way earlier. They could have prevented all of this. They could have prevented every bit of this, but they chose not to.
In the middle of all this, Marina Mabrey isn't backing down. Her reaction to the controversy is as bold as her on-court style, and it has everyone talking. She didn't shy away from the backlash, she embraced it. Mabrey even told fans on TikTok, "Every time they comment, I make dollars." That one line says everything about how she handles pressure and controversy.
This is what she said. Every time they comment, I make dollars.
Mabrey, attention good or bad is just another opportunity to grow her brand. She doesn't deflect criticism or soften her image. She turns controversy into fuel. She owns the moment and keeps moving. No apologies, no explanations, just business. If you've watched her play, you know this isn't new. Her entire game has been built on physicality, edge, and pushing boundaries.
Like, if you guys don't know about Sophie Cunningham and Marina Mabry, who these two people are, like, you need to just know the lore. Like, Marina Mabry, this is how like, Dejanay calls Marina Mabry her evil twin.
She's earned her reputation right alongside Sophie Cunningham as one of the league's most physical agitators. Fans boo whenever she touches the ball, and it's not just because of one game. Mabrey's style is confrontational and unapologetic, and she doesn't back down from heat. To some, that makes her fearless. To others, it's a sign the league isn't setting clear limits.
But, like, Marina Mabry is a crash out artist. Like, there's literally this page, if you guys haven't seen, called Women Hooping. And 90% of what they do is just fights. There's 175,000 subscribers, 10,000 videos. 90% of what they do is just...
You could feel the frustration building every time Mabrey or J.C. Sheldon touched the ball. The boos got louder, not just at the players, but at how the officials were calling the game. Fans saw players like Mabrey pushing the limits while referees looked the other way. Her unapologetic attitude only stirred the pot more. Some call her tough, others say she's reckless. That divide is exactly why she's so polarizing.
Marina Mabry will find any excuse to knock someone on the ground or, like, go at somebody. We saw that when she was with the Sky. We'll see that with the Sun. We've seen that when she was with the Wings. Like, That's Marina Mabry. That is Marina Mabry at the end of it.
And Mabry's fine being the player fans love to hate, as long as she stays in the headlines and the dollars keep coming. But it leaves a deeper question. When a player can turn controversy into a personal win and walk away untouched, what does that say about the WNBA's ability to enforce its own rules? The crowd's reaction, the viral clips, and the league's late corrections all point to a system that's struggling to keep pace. Fans are left wondering where the line is, who's in charge of drawing it, and what happens when the next player crosses it.
Mabry to a flagrant 2, which honestly, she should have just been ejected from the game. This is what happened last season with Kennedy Carter. When her cheap shot on Caitlin wasn't addressed in the moment, I think they're trying to address that now. So the flagrant 2 has been issued. Sophie Cunningham has been issued another fine on top of her flagrant 2, but is it too little too late?
This game wasn't just about one controversial shove. It exposed how post-game fixes can't replace real-time accountability. When officiating is inconsistent and player safety feels like an afterthought, the league's credibility takes a hit. With Caitlin Clark and other rising stars bringing new attention to the WNBA, the pressure is on like never before. If the league wants to earn fans' trust, it has to make the right calls in the moment and protect all players equally. The question is, will the WNBA learn in time, or will fans be stuck watching the replay instead of the game?